Hi, friends. So I am at my favorite, well, one of my favorite spots, and it's super nice day out. And I'll show you a little bit. It's nice and green, and I'm bike riding. And I met some the awesome ladies who are helping me with Barefoot and Free, because that's where I am. So I rode my bike here for my parents, and I showed them the space, and we are in the planning process. So there's all these tiny little details, right, that we have to work out, like the signs and where we're going to place them, and are we going to decorate, and how are we going to do the sound system, and where are we going to have the porta potties, and where are we going to have the vendors and food, and how are we going to create chill hangout areas and parking. And it's like what happens in our yoga practice when we're in the beginning stages of yoga. We have, in the beginning of yoga, it's very, in a way, it's beautiful in the basics, right? Because you come to a yoga class, and what do you have to learn? You have to learn how to breathe. How do I inhale slowly? How do I exhale slowly? How do I maintain over a course of amount of time this consistent yoga breath? And then you incorporate that with just basic shapes, because at first with yoga it's just about the basics, right? It's like with my yoga festival, the basics was coming back here, feeling a certain way in these woods, having for myself a certain experience. I'm always inspired to do yoga when I come back here, because I bike ride or I run or I walk, and then I want to stretch, and I feel so connected to nature. It's so peaceful. It's usually very quiet. I feel very free, and I like to be barefoot. I'm not barefoot today because it's still spring, and I wore shoes. But so for me, initially, in the first stage of Barefoot and Free as a festival, was just like being a basic beginner student to yoga. It was just the basics, right? This is the feeling, and then I want to share this feeling with others. I want to give others this opportunity to experience something similar to what I experienced in this place, and then this shared experience together that gives it more depth, more juice. And now, as I go on, as I continue, now it's all these details. There's all these tiny little things, and all these little things, and then more little things that I have to piece together. And it's like this beautiful tapestry of all these different colors and fabrics to make this into like a thing, right? Because it's in July, so it's April right now, but in July, in a couple months' time, it's going to be a thing. It's going to be like an entity. It's going to be a place. It's going to be an experience. It's going to be something shared by all these people. And up until that point, it has all these little details. And even then, it will be this thing of all these little details. And it's so similar to me to the journey of yoga, because as you continue on your practice, well, then when you're not a beginner to the yoga practice anymore, you show up on your yoga mat and you automatically start your yoga breath, right? You know your yoga breath. You learn how to breathe. You already know these poses. You're familiar with down dog. You're familiar with sun salutations. You know plank. You know warrior. But then you start to fine tune them. Then there's in down dog alone, or in sun salutations alone, there's a million tiny details that you start to learn about and discover. And the intricacies of your practice takes you to these deeper and deeper places. And it's like this web, right, of weaving all of these colors and fabrics together to make something just really incredible and have so much depth. And in a way, the journey's never done. You're always then peeling back another layer, or then adding another layer of depth or perception or consciousness. And so to me, I had this moment today where I was like, oh man, like, I'm a little overwhelmed. Like, this is a really big endeavor, and did I take on too much? And, can I really handle it? But then I kept biking, and then I stopped here, and I sat, and I saw these little blue butterflies, and I just silenced my mind for a moment and thought, of course I can handle whatever on my plate. It's about one detail at a time. It's about taking the one next right step at a time, and you just slowly walk that way, right? It's about this inhale and this exhale, this placement of my hand, this placement of my hand, this placement of my heart and my breath, my body. And over time, these tiny steps, these tiny breaths, these tiny details, they lead us to something of greatness. They lead us to something of perhaps more value. They bring us to a place of more fullness of our experience. And it's easy, if you have a big dream like me, if you're a dreamer and you want to start to consciously then live your dream life, you know, it's easy to get so overwhelmed by all the tiny details that you never then begin. Just like you may have remembered, or you may know someone, if you're a yoga teacher or a yoga student, that has been waiting to practice yoga because they've seen your practice, or maybe they've seen someone's practice on the internet, or they know something about how the practice looks by someone very seasoned. And so they're seeing all the details, but they're seeing them all at once, right? It's like watching Tiger Woods and being like, wow, I could never golf because I'm watching Tiger Woods and he's just amazing. So they're seeing all these details just in one big thing, and it appears overwhelming, like, well, I can't practice yoga because I can't even touch my toes, right? And here I am watching this person with all these tiny details all compounded into one seemingly flawless piece of practice. And to the outsider looking in, it's impossible to them, or it's overwhelming to them, or it's like completely unattainable to them. But this is what we know and we get to learn in our yoga practice, is that it's just taking tiny steps. So to make this festival, and I have this vision, and this festival is going to be amazing, and I see it being like today, like this blue sky day, this sunny day, and I see all the green, and I see all the people, and I see all my friends, the yoga teachers, and all my friends, the yoga students, and I see families, and I see everyone smiling and sweating and singing and dancing and breathing and moving and learning and growing and evolving. And I see all the details as just this perfect, blissful experience for all these people. But I know in order to get there, I have to just keep staying on task, right? One thing, next thing, one thing, next thing, you know, and I have to just stay centered in that these are all leading up to that. And I can envision it without feeling overwhelmed, because I understand that what I'm doing right now is just little things, little steps to start to get me to that big grand vision that's going to happen. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming, and it doesn't have to be something where you see the grand vision, but then you don't follow through because you're so worried about how can it be, you know, how can you get there? You just say yes to what excites you. You just say yes to what you feel called to do. And then, like your yoga practice, right? As yogis, we want to live our yoga. You live your yoga because, like your yoga practice, now you just start to make those little steps. And you start to see that what you want in life is possible for you, and what's exciting and blissful and brings you joy, and then brings that to other people, you know, it's we want more of that in life. Like, we want to be more together. We are more together. We want to share what's great as yogis. We want to share in that space for others so we can make life just as blissed out of an experience as it can be, because you know, life has really hard things for all of us, and life's going to have things for us that we didn't expect, or we didn't necessarily think we asked for, that happened to us or happened to people around us, and that's part of the experience of life. So in a way, for me, I feel like you counter that by then constantly, you know, giving yourself experiences of life for you and for others that are just blissful and fun and full of freedom and full of a bigger reminder that, like, life is magical. I mean, check this out. Like, where I am right now, this is the woods, and this is peaceful, and this is beautiful. And there's these, look at these tiny little yellow flowers that just came out of nowhere. It was just not green here at all 2 weeks ago. And the frogs are hatching, and pretty soon I'll be barefoot, and pretty soon, heck, you'll be back here with me, and we'll be laughing about how cool this is, how, you know, it was a dream, and I'll be dreaming while dreaming, because I'll be here in my dream that I created for all of you, and I'll be with you in my dream, and you'll be sharing in my dream. And I guess to finish this little plug for my festival, what I'm inspired to tell you, and there's some people coming, so I'm inspired to tell you to just live your dream and not to be overwhelmed by it, but just start to take little steps. Just like your yoga practice, right? You just get on the mat, you start to take little steps, you breathe, you center, you focus. And I want to live dreams with you. So thank you for being in my dream. Namaste.